Hello and welcome back to A Life in Chapters, the podcast for anyone who loves journaling, books, and building a creative life and business that truly fits. I'm Alison Wood, and this is episode 12, Start from Where You Are. So let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone else's work and thought, that's exactly what I want to do, but I'm already so far behind? Maybe you're scrolling through Instagram and see a friend's new book launch, or you click into a fellow artist's website and it's polished, full of their latest work. Or you read about a small business owner who's hit their sales goals in record time. And instead of feeling inspired, you feel a little hollow inside, like you're late to the party and everyone else already knows the dance steps. I've been there many, many times. That feeling used to convince me that I was already too far behind to catch up. It made me push too hard or sometimes not start at all. But over the years, I've learned that being behind is often an illusion. There is no race, no universal deadline. Now, believe me, I am not perfect at this. I am still very much a work in progress. But with every choice to keep going, I'm reminded that there's still plenty of room and time for my story to unfold. Today, I want to help you shift your focus away from where you think you should be and towards building from where you actually are right now. We'll explore why that behind feeling happens, how to stop comparing timelines, and the small practical steps that can change everything. And along the way, I'll give you a simple journaling prompt you can use to find your very next step, so that by the end of this episode, you know exactly how to move forward from here. Now, the problem with feeling behind is that it doesn't just mess with your mood, it changes the way you make decisions. When you believe you're late, every choice becomes urgent. You might pile on too many projects at once, hoping one of them will help you catch up. You might rush through important steps, cutting corners that will cause problems later. Or you go the other way. The gap between where you are and where you want to be feels so huge you freeze completely. You convince yourself there's no point starting because you can't possibly close that gap quickly enough. And that old devil procrastination steps into the room. Either way, progress slows down or stops altogether. And the irony is, the very belief that you're behind ends up keeping you exactly where you are. So why do we feel behind? There's probably many reasons and it's different for each person, but ultimately I believe there are three core triggers. The first of these is social comparison. We now see everyone else's progress in real time. Book deals, exhibitions, sales milestones, speaking gigs, number of followers on Instagram. But we rarely see the messy middle, the false starts, the months of nothing happening, the hundreds of unseen hours it took to get there. Second is cultural pressure. Hustle culture tells us that speed equals worth, that the only way to prove you're serious is to grow fast, to scale up, to keep breaking your own records. If you're moving more slowly, it's painted as a lack of ambition. And third, unrealistic expectations. We set timelines that are far too short. A year to go full-time in your business, 6 months to find an audience, a couple of weeks to finish a creative project. When those deadlines pass, we label ourselves as failures instead of adjusting the plan. So let's talk the overnight success myth. So years ago, I met a jewellery maker whose work was featured in a major magazine. From the outside, it looked like she'd appeared out of nowhere. One day she wasn't there, the next she was everywhere. But when I asked how it happened, she laughed. She'd been building her business for 9 years. She worked on her designs in the evening after her day job. She spent weekends at tiny markets where she sometimes sold nothing at all. She taught herself how to photograph her pieces, write product descriptions, and package her orders beautifully. That magazine feature wasn't the start of her success, it was the visible tip of an iceberg built over nearly a decade. So, how do we actually start from where we are? What practical actions can we take to say goodbye to doubt and procrastination and move forward? Step 1. Take your eyes off everyone else. The first shift is to bring your focus back to your path. And this is not easy, I know, especially when we are surrounded by everyone else's highlight reel. But it is possible. Right now, or later on, grab a notebook or your journal and write down 1. Your big picture dreams, the ones that light you up and maybe scare you a little. 2. The smaller practical goals that could move you towards those dreams. And 3. A timeline for each. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. For example, practical things could be grow my email list to 500 subscribers by December. It could be to create and launch a digital product in the next 6 months, or to finish the first draft of my novel within the year. Alternatively, it could be submit 3 pieces of art to exhibitions in the next 9 months. I know a small business owner who was constantly distracted by other people's milestones. When she finally sat down and set her own goals and reviewed them weekly, she found she could scroll social media without that sinking "I'm behind" feeling. Instead, she was too busy focusing on her own scoreboard. When you have your own roadmap, other people's progress becomes background noise instead of a measuring stick. So here's something you can do as a mini exercise. Create your personal metrics. So we often measure our progress with other people's numbers, their follower counts, their book sales, their client list. But those things aren't your metrics. Instead, try this. Decide on 3 ways you'll measure your own growth. Make sure they're fully in your control and track them weekly or monthly. So examples could be the number of new blog posts published, number of conversations with potential clients, email open rate improvement, hours spent practicing your craft, number of new pieces completed, submissions sent to competitions or publications. Then put your metrics somewhere you'll see them often, a sticky note on your desk, a spreadsheet you open daily. This keeps your focus anchored to what you can control instead of drifting into the comparison zone. So some extra ideas for this could be, if you're running a business, you could track the number of customer questions you answer each week, or how many times you promote your offer on social media. If you're a creative, you could log how many days you show up for your craft, or how many hours you spend in deep, focused work. The key is to choose numbers that make you feel proud when they go up, numbers that reflect the actual work you want to be doing, not someone else's idea of success. That then brings us on to step 2, start from where you are. Now this sounds simple, but it's a game changer. So for example, just say you're starting a handmade product business. Your first step might be photographing 3 of your products for a basic online shop, not planning a full-scale launch with ads and influencers. If you haven't painted in years, your first step could be setting up your paints and working for 15 minutes, not committing to a full exhibition. So early on in my business, one of my clients was a photographer who felt stuck because she couldn't afford the studio space she thought she needed to be legit. For months, she didn't touch her camera. One day, she decided to start anyway, shooting portraits in her own kitchen using natural light from the window. She posted a few online, and within weeks, people began booking her for outdoor sessions. By starting with what she had, she created momentum that eventually allowed her to rent the studio she dreamed of and hire me to help with building a website. When you work with your current reality, you remove the overwhelm that comes from imagining all the steps at once. So I want to give you an example of the power of small steps, and it's actually from my own life and business. So when I first got started online, I wanted to build out a full course, but I kept putting it off just because the project felt too big. I didn't know where to start. I was thinking 6 steps ahead. Instead, I tried something different. I created just one lesson, a short, valuable piece of content, and I offered it for free. Now, that one lesson brought in, it was around 200 subscribers, and those subscribers became my first paying customers when I eventually launched the full course. But if I hadn't taken that small step, if I hadn't filmed the first thing and put it out for free, I wouldn't have had the subscribers that ultimately went on to purchase. That small step created momentum, built trust, and proved to me that my idea had potential. Let's talk avoiding the cart before the horse trap. It's so easy to leap ahead to the glamorous stages when you're planning. The branding shoot, the product launch, the book cover reveal. And you do that before the foundations are in place. Now, I've done it myself, building sales pages before I had the product ready, brainstorming marketing plans before writing a single chapter. It feels productive, but it's usually a form of procrastination. Instead, ask yourself what matters most right now. And the answer will usually be simpler, smaller, and closer to home than you think. Now, the mindset shift that I made, maybe I'm still in the process of making it, is that I say to myself, you're in progress, not behind. And I say that because there's no universal clock for success. I know people who started thriving businesses in their 60s, artists who returned after decades away and created their best work yet, writers on the other end of the scale who published their first book in their early 20s and are going on to have long careers. We are all different, and that's okay. You are not late, you're in progress, and you're allowed to move at a pace that works for your life. Let's take a moment to journal or just to think through your answers to these questions. First, here's the prompt. Where am I now, and what would feel like a gentle next step? Where am I now, and what would feel like a gentle next step? First, describe where you are. That is, in the journey of whatever you're trying to achieve or to create. Be honest with yourself. What's going well? What's challenging? How do you feel about it? Let's just take as an example, you want to write a book. Be honest. Are you actually sitting down to write every day? What's challenging about it? What's coming up for you? With me, and I am in the process of writing a book, but just not very consistently, what comes up for me is imposter syndrome. This isn't going to be good enough. Why am I even trying this? So in your life, think about what is coming up for you. Step 2, brainstorm possible next steps. Think of actions that could be done in under an hour. And step 3 is choose the most inviting one. Circle the step that feels lightest and most doable. So for me, what I'm committing to is that I'm going to sit down and write every day. Now, I'm not necessarily bringing a timescale to that. All I'm saying right now is I'm going to sit down and write for at least 10 minutes. Now, if I go for longer than that, amazing. But it takes the pressure off me because I'm not thinking I have to reach 2,000 words a day or I have to sit down for 3 hours. It's just tiny steps. And even if I only write a few hundred words in that time, it's moving me forward. So some other examples could be, I've got a website live but no traffic. Then your next gentle step could be write and publish one blog post. If you're a creative, where you are, maybe you have a half-finished painting, you're feeling blocked. The gentle next step could be work on the background colors for 20 minutes. Once you complete your first gentle step, come back to your journal and note how it felt. Did it create momentum? Did it make the next step clearer? and these reflections can guide your next move. Your pace, your progress. Starting from where you are isn't about lowering your standards. It's about building something sustainable, step by step, chapter by chapter. You don't have to catch up. You just have to keep going. And I want to leave you with this picture. Imagine walking into a party. Yes, some people have been there for hours, deep into conversations. Others are still arriving. The music is playing, the food is being served, and the laughter is flowing. The moment you step through the door, you're part of it. You don't need to tell anyone how long it took you to get there. You just join in. And if you're like me and parties aren't really your thing, imagine instead it's a cozy bookshop or a favorite coffee shop, a place where you can arrive quietly, take your time, and still be part of what's happening. You don't have to explain yourself. You just pull a book down from the shelf, read the back, and join in. And that's what starting from where you are feels like. The moment you take that gentle next step, you're already in the game. And from there, step by step, you build your own version of success. So today, pick that step, take it, and then notice how it feels to be moving again. That feeling is proof that you're not behind at all. Thanks so much for joining me here today. If this episode resonated with you, please subscribe or follow A Life in Chapters on your favorite podcast platform. And if you have a moment, please leave a quick review. It helps more than you know. Until next time, keep taking your next gentle step and start from where you are.